The number one goal of fantasy football is to win. Yet it looks like fantasy drafters have overlooked a clear winning strategy. I've drafted 50 times so far, and I'm surprised by this. There is a clear early round strategy that not a lot of people are implementing, but you can take advantage of. I am going to show you how I draft the first 6 rounds and explain the strategies that I am looking for during these rounds to get an edge. I was lucky enough to get the 3rd pick. The top 2 running backs on my board, Jonathan Taylor and McCaffrey, went. I went ahead and got Justin Jefferson. I took him ahead of Cooper Kupp. It's a coin flip for me. So now I have a wide receiver. My goal with these first 6 picks, those first 6 picks are the early rounds, is to acquire at least 3 and ideally 4 wide receivers during that time. And the big reason why is we rarely find league-winning wide receivers in rounds 7 through 10. A study by the late-round QB J.J. Zacharyson discovered the following. There has only been 3 wide receivers in rounds 7 through 10 since 2010 that have been a league winner, finishing top 12 overall. Now, meanwhile, there's been a couple of dozen running backs in that range that have been able to finish top 12. So in that range of 7 through 10 is where I want my running backs. So that means I'm going to load up early and get elite wide receivers. And you can see my rankings right now. They're free in the description if you want to use them. I've already secured 1 elite wide receiver. The goal now is to get a running back with this 2nd pick, but not just any running back. A running back that would make my lineup very unique. If you're playing in a season-long league, you just take the next best available running back based on my rankings. If you're playing in a tournament like this one where there's $2 million to first place, Best Ball Mania, $10 million in total prizes, you need to get unique. You need to have a lineup that nobody else has so that when your lineup hits, it's passing everyone. So I'm 3 picks away right now, and these are the running backs that I'm looking at. Alvin Kamara and Leonard Fournette are the main guys that I want to be targeting. They are by far my best available. You can see there's a massive teardrop down then to James Conner, who I'm also fine taking, though, if these guys were to go. So back-to-back receivers go. So with my 2nd pick now, I have the options of these wide receivers, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown. Honestly, these wide receivers, I like Mike Evans a lot. I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette here, somebody who I think is fantastic, somebody who I believe the combination now of Leonard Fournette and a Justin Jefferson is a rare combo. Maybe people have Cooper Kupp and Fournette, but not Jefferson and Fournette. And as you can see, based on my rankings, I view Fournette as a borderline top 5 back. I mean, Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara are the guys I have ahead of him at 4 and 5. They have some legal issues that look like they're going to get pushed back past this season, but you never know. Fournette's right there at RB6, and I just got him as like the 12th back off the board. So I'm on the clock again now, and my goal is to get wide receivers. So I'm here, and I'm looking at a wide receiver that I absolutely love, and that is going to be Michael Pittman. So this strategy of getting 4 wide receivers with my first 6 picks, securing either the next 2 picks in there to make up those first 6, 4 receivers, maybe 2 running backs, 4 receivers, a running back, and ideally an elite quarterback with those first 6 picks, as the first quarterback goes off the board here in Josh Allen. But I get Michael Pittman, so now I'm feeling really good. Pittman is a top 12 wide receiver for me based on my rankings. There was a lot of other wide receivers that went ahead of him in this draft that I don't agree with, like an A.J. Brown, like a Deebo Samuel, like a Jalen Waddle. These are guys that I would much rather have Michael Pittman over, who has no target competition, just got an upgrade of Matt Ryan. Pittman was fantastic last year dealing with Carson Wentz, and Ryan, by all accounts, basically every metric that I found was better last year than Carson Wentz. And a typical strategy that I see a lot of people do is maybe they start with 2 or 3 running backs. I think this is a mistake because it's harder to find elite wide receivers later this year more than many past years. Or maybe instead they seesaw between wide receivers and running backs. Again, the same issue is apparent here. In rounds 7 through 10, who are you going to draft? You don't want to be taking tight ends there. Maybe you get 1, maybe 2 quarterbacks in those rounds, but who are you going to be drafting there? Because based on the last 12 years of data, you don't want to be drafting a lot of wide receivers. It's not a hard rule. Maybe you like 1 guy in rounds 7 through 10, maybe 2, but the data is saying that in those rounds, the wide receivers in rounds 11 through 14 are usually just as good in terms of finishing position. So I'm 7 picks away now, and these are my best available. The running backs I honestly don't really want at this point. I don't want to get my 2nd running back right now, so it's looking like wide receiver is the move for my 3rd pick, and then I get a quick 4th pick. Amari Cooper is here. Keenan Allen is still on the board. I mean, these are guys who are top 15 wide receivers for me. Lots of top 20 options still on the board for me. I'm 3 picks away with 5 of my top 20 options still left. So a couple of wide receivers. A Gabe Davis goes. That's interesting if you're trying to stack up Buffalo, and I'm on the clock now. My best available is Amari Cooper. He's my best available by a decent amount. I'm going to be taking him over DK Metcalf. I believe that this not only gives me a guy that I like more. If you see my rankings right here, Amari is my number 13 overall wide receiver. We don't yet, as of this recording, know the suspension potential of Deshaun Watson, but I take Amari Cooper there, and I think a lot of people in that situation are going to be snagging a DK Metcalf, a Allen Robinson potentially, or maybe even an elite quarterback, snag a Josh Jacobs, something along those lines. We end up getting a guy that I really do like, so I think we have a very unique build here. I don't know how many people are going to have Fournette, Amari Cooper, and Justin Jefferson lineups. Probably not many, if any, at this point. I'm back on the clock now, and the wide receivers are still here. I like Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas the most. Thomas, a little bit concerned about the injury here, so Brandon Cooks is going to be the wide receiver that I go to here for my 4th pick. He is somebody that has finished as a top 20 wide receiver in back-to-back seasons. ends. He is somebody that they brought in second round pick John Mechie. I'm not concerned about. I actually think Nico Collins, a man they traded up for in the third round, gave up the second most draft capital ever for a third round pick to get Nico Collins last year. I think that he's actually going to be the second option out there. Not concerned about the tight ends. It's not the greatest offense, but a legitimate shot for a 30% target share. One of like 5 guys is Brandon Cooks this year. So now we can start to see how this strategy is playing out through 4 rounds here. I have my running back Leonard Fournette. We got him actually in the second round, who I think he might be a first round pick come August. We get Justin Jefferson, Michael Pittman, Amari Cooper, and Brandon Cooks. All 4 of these guys are the clear cut, not even close wide receiver ones on their team. All 4 of these guys can easily finish in the top 10 in overall target volume by the end of the season. Nobody would be shocked. So now I have 1 spot left, and now that we're entering round 6, a lot of different things can happen here. I can get my 5th wide receiver if an elite wide receiver is left and say, okay, I am now done with wide receiver for a while. If an elite quarterback is still on the board, most notably the main one left here, if we look at the board, the main one left in my opinion is going to be Kylie Murray. After that, I don't want anybody. I'll snag Kylie Murray here. Or if a running back that I like falls this far, I think that's a position where we can say, yes, let's go ahead and get him. And when I stated that I've drafted 50 times so far, it's best ball drafts, so it's just I don't have to manage these teams. If you want to be drafting in this, there's $2 million to first, $10 million on Underdog. You can check out the link in the description. If you use the code SAL, you get double your money on your first deposit. You put in 20, you get 40. You put in 50, you get $100, Rooskies. You can check it out. It's linked in the description to get that lovely bonus and start drafting with me on UnderdogFantasy.com. And a lot of good things are happening since I took Brandon Cooks. A couple of running backs go that I would not have had interest in. Chris Godwin, who I don't have any interest in. Who knows if he misses a month or 2 months to start the season. Guys like Juju and DK Metcalf, who I'm not that high on. Another running back who I didn't want at this point. And then some guys start to go. I like Bateman. He's a wide receiver 1. I liked Allen Robinson. He's actually younger than Cooper Kupp, his teammate, and he's somebody who actually finally will get to produce. And then more running backs go. So this is a good position for me. The running backs are going, meaning that good wide receivers are going to still be on the board. People are loading up on running backs in the wrong rounds. Round 6 through 10, round 7 through 10 is where you want these running backs. Typically, they're going to finish pretty close to where the guys in these rounds are going. Now, the guy that I really wanted with my 6th pick was an elite quarterback in Kylie Murray. He goes. The only guy who is a potential elite quarterback left on the board for me is now Jalen Hurts. And that elite ability comes from last year leading the league amongst quarterbacks in rushing, red zone rushing, rushing yards, rushing attempts, all of those beautiful things you like to see for a fantasy quarterback. The secret code, the rushing. And unfortunately, Jalen Hurts goes a couple picks before me. There's no quarterbacks now on the board that I end up wanting to taking, right? At this point, Jalen Hurts is gone. We don't know Deshaun Watson. These quarterbacks will still be here in round 10 for the most part. The tight ends are basically all off the board. Some of these guys will be here in a few rounds. TJ Hawkinson is now gone. And then the running backs, there's not much that I like here. Like Elijah Mitchell, Miles Sanders, sure, but I could just wait 2 rounds and get a Chase Evans. I could just wait 2 rounds and get an AJ Dillon, a Kareem Hunt, a Rashad Penny, guys who look just as good in my opinion and can have just as many touches. So the board came back around to me, and at this 6th pick, I say, okay, I might as well just go with another wide receiver here. I missed the boat on the quarterbacks just barely. The tight ends don't look that appealing, and the running backs are not that great, so I go with Elijah Moore, who has a real chance to be his team's wide receiver 1. It was between Elijah Moore and Drake London. Drake London, the wide receiver 1 for Atlanta, but the quarterback situation, it's uneasy. Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts are out there. I'll take Elijah Moore, who looked really good when he was healthy last year, one of the better rookie wide receivers during that time. Round 7 comes around, and this is the time where I want to look for the quarterbacks and the running backs. So maybe a Trey Lance or a Russell Wilson with my 8th pick. With my 7th pick, I took Elijah Mitchell. He definitely will not be there anymore. He dropped 5 picks past ADP. His ADP was 70th. I took him at pick 75, meaning that he definitely would not be there by my next pick. And at this point, if he's dropping 5 picks, it's giving me a more unique lineup, because in most drafts, he's probably going a half a round or even a round earlier. And at this point, Elijah Mitchell to me is the running back 1 here. I know they drafted a 3rd round running back this past year. I'm not too concerned about that. Trey Sermon is still there. When Mitchell was healthy last year, 20 plus touches a game. The first running back we've seen basically in 5 or 6 years with Kyle Shanahan that has been giving the full workload, 70% opportunity shares when he's active. This is the #1 early round strategy that I have found. Try and find your first 4 to 6 picks to be wide receivers. Get a running back in there, and then with that final pick, depending on how good the board looks, either elite quarterback, maybe you snag a Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts if you could with that 6th pick, another running back if the board is fell to you properly, or go with the 5th wide receiver. We just got 5 wide receiver 1s for teams that will definitely all see volume, a strong pass catching running back in Leonard Fournette, and then as we enter the mid rounds of drafts, that's where the running backs, quarterbacks, and tight ends start to pile on for the next couple of rounds. And one more thing about this strategy is you probably want to get a running back with one of your first 2 picks. So you want to make sure you know who the best running backs are this year, and this video right here is going to help you exactly with that. And trust me when I say these running backs, oof, they're good.